The people you've brought with you today, I'm sure they'll learn something from coming to Australia, and I hope they do.
Red soil, endless sky, and a landscape where every drop of water matters. This is Queensland, Australia, half a world away, where the land tells its own story. Here, agriculture unfolds across vast distances. The scenery is breathtaking, but farming here is anything but easy. Water is precious, the climate is unpredictable, and for the people who work this land, innovation isn't optional, it's survival. These challenges are not unfamiliar to farmers in Alabama. That's why a team from Alabama Extension at Auburn University is here, traveling 9,000 miles, not simply to observe, but to learn, engage, and bring home solutions to growers back home facing similar pressures, because the future of agriculture doesn't stop at our borders. For a country roughly the size of the continental United States, Australia has less than 1/10 the population, with 90% living within 50 miles of its coastline. Its agricultural challenges look strikingly familiar: water scarcity, climate variability, rising input costs, labor constraints, and the constant need to produce more with greater efficiency. But here, those pressures are intensified. As an island, Australia has the additional expense of transporting inputs and crops great distances. This trip was designed as a working exchange, connecting extension specialists, university researchers, and producers across continents to share ideas and learn from one another.
Agriculture is a global industry and it's all interconnected.
Alabama Extension Regional Agent Eddie McGriff strategically arranged the tour, his 6th down under, to facilitate conversations beneficial to both parties.
You can go on the internet and see most anything we've seen, but it's more important when we're here, we're seeing the physical crop, we're talking to the farmers, the growers, the industry people, their extension service, the researchers, and we're learning from them.
For Extension, global engagement is not just about travel, it's about preparation. Seeing how farmers in other parts of the world respond under pressure provides a glimpse of what may lie ahead and how to respond effectively. Kevin Norman with the Australian Trade and Investment Commission has worked with McGriff for more than 30 years.
And it's all about, exchanging ideas, seeing how we farm many of the same crops in the different environments, seeing if there's new innovations or technologies. And I think that's the wonderful thing, is that we can share. We're growing similar crops, fairly similar soils.
We've got similar ideas, we've had similar problems. You might have had a particular problem 3 years ago, and we're just facing that problem here now in Australia. So it's actually really good to listen to how you face that problem, the challenges that you've had, and what potentially we can learn here in Australia.
During the trip, the Alabama Extension team visited 12 farms and research stations. Field visits with research scientists like Paul Grundy provided a chance to compare notes and best practices.
You can often then take, solutions that were found for that scenario and go, hey, look, that have application to our problem over here. Slightly different problem, but those ideas might really work. So it's the things you learn around the edges of these visits, I find, that are the real nuggets.
Much of the trip involved conversations about setting farmers up to thrive under different conditions. Queensland, particularly the Bundaberg region, is loaded with agricultural diversity. In just a few miles, farms here may grow cotton, peanuts, sugarcane, macadamias, avocados, and mangoes.
If you came here and all we showed you was cotton, corn and peanuts, you'd all go home bored. We wanted to show you something different.
Pat Hardin, another longtime Australian colleague of McGriff's, helped arrange the tour of the region to include stops at each of these important row crops. In Australia, over time, diversity hasn't just been a choice, it's been a necessity. Changing weather patterns, global markets, and shifting water availability have pushed many farmers to rethink what they grow and how they grow it.
There's a lot of things that I'm taking back to Auburn, for especially Alabama Extension, specifically the diversification part, because in Auburn we do a lot of crop rotations, like cotton with peanuts and corn and beans, and we see and hear farmers are struggling every year with thin profit margins.
For the past 10 years, Peter Howlett has grown Debosia on his farm near Kingaroy. Debosia is a major player in the pharmaceutical world, providing treatment for eye issues and remedies for seasickness.
It's an Australian native, so it's quite hardy, probably in a lot of respects quite an easy crop to grow. We just find it fits in with what we do quite well and fits in with our soil type, and very happy with the crop.
Diversity does not stop at crop selection. Diversity of practice is evident in the way crops are irrigated as well.
Australia is a very dry continent, so they have to adapt to impounding their waters, and we've seen some big, what they call ring tanks, where they just basically put up a berm around. We saw one that was over 170 acres. I mean, it's amazing how well they adapt, and they collect water when it does rain and when they have it, and then they use it very efficiently.
When rainfall is scarce, it has a noticeable impact, even on traditional cash crops like peanuts. For decades, Kingaroy has been known as the peanut capital of Australia. But even with innovation, the challenges remain real. Few people have seen those challenges more clearly than Lionel Week.
Life's changed a bit, and we know how farming's struggling at the moment.
Week has watched production of peanuts drop from 60,000 tons produced in the late 1970s to just over 15,000 tons produced this year. He says it's hard to not get discouraged, as many farmers in the region have.
As I say to my wife on a regular basis, does it have to be this hard to feed the nation? Farming is there to put food on the shelves, but the amount of work that's involved and the amount of pressure and the challenges that are being faced now, the margins are just skinnier than ever.
But in their typical resilient nature, the Aussie farmers innovate and adapt. Precision agriculture tools have proven helpful, and experiments with a rotation of peanuts and sugarcane are providing hope.
Peanuts and sugarcane really work together well. The timing of planting, like harvesting cane, taking the old crop out, then getting ground ready and planting peanuts, and then having it ready again for the next crop of cane, really works well. The timing is excellent.
As farmers adapt, the impact of dry conditions is felt in other agricultural sectors.
It came to a head about 15 years ago when we started this project, which was what the catalyst was. It was, why can't someone do something about camels in Australia? Because it was really dry and they started coming into urban areas and causing problems.
It's estimated that 300,000 to 1 million feral camels roam the center of the continent. Paul Martin is founder and CEO of Summerland Camel Farm, home to 400 domesticated camels rounded up from the Central Australian desert. His herd provides milk and meat to Brisbane and beyond. Like the region's row crop farmers, Summerland has had to adapt and innovate in order to beat the long-standing drought, which has made raising traditional livestock a challenge.
Camels are in Australia. They are purpose-built for the conditions. They can give us wool, they can give us meat, they can give us dairy, they can give us leather. But we just have to change the way we're thinking, because of course no one before our generation has farmed camels in Australia. So sometimes you just have to have that crazy idea and go for it.
Cotton connects Auburn and Australia, and it's the primary crop the Alabama Extension team came here to study. In the farming region around Dalby, water dictates nearly everything. Some farms rely on irrigation, while others depend entirely on rainfall. Despite those challenges, Australia produces some of the highest cotton yields in the world.
We farm about 2,400 hectares, so about 6,000 acres here around just west of Dalby in Queensland, Australia.
Dan Skirman's dryland farm is water limited and relies on rainfall to thrive. Like farmers in Alabama, Skirman leans on area extension agents for information and advice.
The main purpose of that is really to take new research out into the field, out to growers, and let them have a look at it and see, is the research going to work? We also have a look at things that haven't actually worked in the field, where there have been failures, why haven't they worked? We interact with researchers at an early stage in their projects, and we sort of talk to them and sort of say, that's a great idea. Can we tweak it here? Can we tweak it there?
We're busier and busier now in our own businesses, and people are relying on agronomists and extension people like that to get information out to us. So I guess organising high quality field days and information sessions and stuff that's really relevant to maximise growers' times.
The approach is different several miles away at the 1,800-acre Wamara farm west of Toowoomba. Water is captured and held in ring tanks until it's time to irrigate. Storing water in this way provides the ability to irrigate at critical growth stages and helps increase overall yields.
This year it's one of our drier years, and we still got through with 2 to 3 irrigations. And we're still talking yields of 5 bales plus to the acre.
And that's kind of what I've picked up here. These guys are really keen on site-specific management. And site-specific management is key because, like farming, it's a one-size-fits-all approach would be nice, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way. To get the highest yields, to make the most out of the land that you're farming, it's going to have to be tailored and catered to your specific needs and what you're trying to get out of it.
Despite the many similarities between Alabama and Australian cotton growing, there are differences that did not go unnoticed by the team.
Seeing their yields is incredible. Even they have much different conditions than we do, a lot more sunlight and those kinds of things. But on top of that, it's the lack of insect pressure. A lot of these fields are picking 5 and 6, 7 bales, and they don't spray maybe one time for insects. And in Alabama, can't do that. So that's really impressed me.
We've seen what pests they have. We see how they do their pest management. We've seen how they fertilize their crop and how much nitrogen they use, way more nitrogen than we do. They make such high yields, they have to.
Despite differences in climate, pests, and water, one thing remains the same. Successful cotton farming depends on constant adaptation. If cotton exposes how Australian farmers manage water, innovation reveals how they manage the future. Across Queensland, producers are facing many of the same pressures farmers see in the United States: rising input costs, labor shortages, and the need to do more with less. That reality is pushing agriculture toward new technology designed to make farms more efficient and more precise. And in some cases, that future is already at work in the field. At Dorian Farms near Bundaberg, a tractor moves slowly between rows of macadamia trees. But look closer. There's no one on board driving it. This autonomous tractor, developed by Australian company Swarm Farm Robotics, is designed to handle repetitive field work like mowing and weed control. Sensors guide the machine through the orchard, allowing it to maneuver carefully around the trees while performing the same job a human operator once did. For farmers, technology like this isn't just impressive, it's practical.
Australian farmers are very resourceful. There's a lot of machinery made in Australia, like local adaptation, things adapted. So yeah, it's known in agriculture that if it works in Australia, it'll probably work in other parts of the world.
Automation allows farms to operate longer hours, even at night, while completing tasks with a level of consistency that's difficult to achieve by hand. For the Alabama Extension team, the demonstration offers more than a look at new machinery. It's a glimpse of how rapidly agricultural technology is evolving and how automation may soon play a larger role on farms around the world.
We're only a little guy, but we like to think we punch above our weight. So yeah, it's that need to be innovative because you don't have all the things that you would like, or both from a technology and equipment and a resource and a labour perspective. So how do we try and be much cleverer about the stuff that we've got so that we can do things differently, I suppose.
And while technology continues to reshape the way farms operate on land, another challenge awaits just offshore. The Great Barrier Reef is one of the most recognizable natural wonders on Earth. It stretches more than 1,400 miles along Australia's eastern shoreline, supporting thousands of marine species. It's also one of the country's most important environmental and tourism treasures. But its beauty also comes with fragility. Many of the farms visited by the Alabama Extension team sit upstream from the reef's watershed. Rain that falls across farmland eventually flows into rivers and ultimately into the Coral Sea. Since the early 1990s, scientists have linked nitrogen runoff to algal blooms that increase the population of crown-of-thorns starfish, one of the reef's most destructive predators. That means decisions made on land, how crops are fertilized, how soil is managed, and how water moves through fields can influence the health of the reef itself.
And so that's how the linkage became to agriculture, is nitrate in water concentration. And the government basically, well, whoever was looking at it goes, what's the biggest footprint? Grazing, sugarcane were the two biggest footprints in the Queensland coastline. So everywhere that we farm drains into the Great Barrier Reef Lagoon, and so we've got I suppose, a duty of care to improve our environmental stewardship.
It's a real emphasis of government on protecting the reef, and just educating farmers on how to better do that and stop runoff. So it's a bit north of Bundaberg, but it still does affect it. All those river catchments are affected.
For Auburn University nutrient management specialist Rishi Prasad, the connection between agriculture and the reef is impossible to overlook.
The Great Barrier Reef is very iconic, and it's a big tourist place and very environmentally sensitive, right? And it's kind of like a one-way street. There's no turning back. Like once it's polluted and once it's affected, it will take decades or maybe hundreds of years to turn everything around.
It's another reminder that the future of farming will depend not just on productivity, but stewardship. After hundreds of miles, dozens of conversations, and days spent walking fields together, one lesson stands out. Farmers in Australia and Alabama may be separated by an ocean, but they face many of the same challenges, and they're searching for many of the same solutions. For Alabama Extension, trips like this are not just about bringing answers home, they're about building relationships, sharing knowledge, and learning together, because agriculture doesn't stop at borders. Half a world away, the land tells its own story. And sometimes the best way to understand the future of farming is to observe and listen.
This is just a beautiful place. Some of the mountains that we've seen has been some of the prettiest views that I've ever seen in my life.
Sometimes when you go on an agricultural tour, it's more of a touristy thing. This is strictly a tour where we're meeting with the growers. We're getting to see their fields. We're getting to learn from them. We're getting to learn from industry. We're getting to learn from their researchers. We're getting to learn from their extension specialists. So it's been a great trip and we've had a great time. But more importantly, we've learned a lot, and we've learned a lot that we can bring back to the Alabama growers.